Yeah, just like how does Tableau work with using multiple data sources?
Multiple data sources at the same time? Okay. I'll just cover that right now. Like you can, it's kind of like a little bit more advanced topic. The best answer is like, don't do that whenever possible. You're going to lose some functionality in Tableau. You're going to lose the ability to create those action filters from a dashboard. If you have like 2 worksheets from different dashboards, you got to add in like some parameters to be able to filter across those. But if you have, as an example of this, if you have an Excel workbook, you have multiple sheets within a workbook. You can join those multiple sheets and Tableau will run very, very well. If you have a database and you have multiple tables within the database, Tableau will run very, very well. If you have a database that you're trying to connect to a completely separate database, you can join those on a primary key. All you got to do is connect to both data sources. If there's not a relationship, a matching name, you can edit a relationship and create a matching name and then blend those data sources based on that. I can send you some stuff if you want to email me on more details on joining, but we're probably going to cover more basic things today, but it's kind of a last resort blending. Tableau does work well with blending data sources together, but no BI software works extremely well with it. It works better if you have your data in the same source. Other things?
Yeah, just from your experience, what are the best practices for most forward-thinking companies as far as developing data products and then governance later on? Like how are they changing?
Tableau Server is an amazing tool for governing data processes. One problem you have is that you might have a bunch of people that are connecting to the same data source and then manipulating that data in slightly different ways within their workbook. And maybe they're all coming up with slightly different calculated fields to do similar things. Maybe you want to manage your calculated fields as a single data source. Best practice in that case is to publish a data source to Tableau Server and then to use that as your data engine and have people connecting directly to that published data source on Tableau Server. As far as best practices for companies as a whole, large companies are going to get a core of Tableau Server where they can add as many users as they want and as many as they can handle. And they're just going to manage permissions within the server. Their server administrators are going to like manage who can see what and whatnot. As far as best practices, you're going to keep your data consistent, your color palettes consistent, your dashboard styling consistent so that people know where to look for things and how to interact with that. I don't know how well that answers that question, but a couple more, like any specific things that within the tool that you guys are looking to learn.
So you've shown us a lot about dashboards. Mm-hmm. I would love to see how well it can export like high resolution images for like publication and things like that.
Okay. Pretty simple, I'll just answer. You can print it as a PDF. You can go to a dashboard, go to File, print as PDF. You can set different elements and qualities, but that's basically, if you want to print it to a PDF. If you want to like embed it into like a PowerPoint presentation, you're basically going to have a Tableau Server link that you're going to be connecting to that with that. And you'll like embed it in an iframe for your presentation.
Will you walk through the difference between dimensions, measures, calculated measures, and parameters?
Yes, I would love to.
And how you use those differently?
Yeah, good question. Let me write that down so I don't forget. All right, I'll just take a couple more. Is one over on the right?
Can you export your templates yourself?
You can.
No?
Easily.
What does that even mean?
You can export it as a crosstab in Excel. So you can go to your worksheet, export. First of all, I got to be connected to a worksheet. Click on a worksheet, go to worksheet, export. You can export a crosstab to Excel. Another cool thing about Tableau is if I build something like, let me go back to one of my other dashboards. All right, if I see something in my data that I don't really like, maybe I want to click on my tables category. and maybe I want to select an area in the northeast, I see that I have a lot of, oh, I wonder how that worked. I might know what to click to get bad data to show up. If I want to see the details of this section of data, I can hover over my tables, and I can go to view data here. I can go to my underlying data. I can copy that data, and I can paste it into Excel if I just want to like pinpoint that specific area. Or I can actually just paste it into Tableau itself. So I could open up a new sheet, hit Control V, paste it into Tableau. It takes everything to the rows and columns, so it gets this kind of mess of data. I can then just clear that out and actually use that clipboard data source as my data source. And maybe I want to build a map of my cities. So again, remember I'm looking at the tables category. There's a map of just the cities within that little piece of data that I pulled, and then I can go to take profit ratio to color and profit to size. And maybe I want to change my color palette to use the full color range. All right, and then I can adjust my size, and then it allows me to do a lot of ad hoc stuff. As simple as that, I can see more detail based on what's happening in that specific piece or that specific element of my data. Maybe that was a little bit TMI for that question, but a couple more questions.
Can we see like a demo on like the use of the stories function?
Maybe.
Okay.
If we get to it.
All right, that's an idea.
Yeah. Thank you. Sam.
Can you talk a little bit about what data sources it can pull from? You said 1 million rows. Does that include if it's sitting on an SQL database?
I said Excel is limited to 1 million rows. Tableau is really not limited. It's limited to the amount of data that your database can send to it. But yeah, I'll show you guys that right now. You go to Data, Connect to Data, and here it brings up all your data sources. Microsoft, things in a flat file, Excel. There are specific Tableau data sources. Let me zoom in on this, it's kind of small. So there are data sources in a file. If we have something on a server, if we publish a data source to Tableau server, we would connect to that here. If our data lives on Amazon Redshift or SQL Server, or if we have data in Google Analytics, MySQL, Teradata, Tableau can connect to a lot of different data sources. And it's increasing quite quickly. This kind of, if people ask me like what the difference between, if I were asked differences between Domo and Tableau, I would say this is maybe the one area where Domo kind of beats Tableau. They can connect to more things. And that's one of the things that I worked on when I was at Domo. Tableau is always increasing the amount of things that it can connect to though. So a more typical practice for this is to do like ETL work. If you have data in a source that Tableau doesn't connect directly to, you would pull it out, transform it, and then load it into like a SQL Server database. Would probably be a better way to connect to that data. Question? Anyone else have a question? Yeah.
Is there any specific like algorithms or formulas on here that help with forecasting and prediction?
There is forecasting, and it uses multiple linear regression, and that's about it. Tableau 9 is coming out. It's going to look a little bit differently. Tableau 9 will probably be out in a couple months. I don't know like an exact date. But Tableau 9 will have this data tab here, and then it will have an analysis tab here. Right now the analysis tab is here. It's a little bit, it's not full in Tableau 9, and my hope is that they fill it with more algorithms that are like predictive analytics based, but that would just be a guess on my part if they're going to fill it with more of that stuff. But right now, yeah, you can run a regression, you can do logarithmic or polynomial regressions. You can do forecasting, but it's not extremely robust. You can do a lot more predictive analytics with something like R. So I'll show you guys that though. I'll show you just like the simple forecasting that Tableau can do. So, all right.
Yeah, is it possible to like take an interactive graphic and put it in like a web page or something? Is that something that Tableau would be awesome?
An interactive graphic embedded. Yeah. Like what kind of URL? Just like your company's site, portal, or something?
Like for instance, like a news article, if you have data that you're showing, you can make it like interactive on the web, like you can cover over stuff or change stuff.
Yeah. Definitely. You can do that. You can connect to Tableau server. You can publish it to Tableau Public, which is like a public version of Tableau that anyone can go to. So don't publish like private data there. And that's kind of like, but it's wrapped within Tableau's portal. You can embed that onto your site. My company builds a lot of like one-off Tableau tools. Having a portal like that where you embed Tableau in an iframe within your portal is something that my company actually does a lot of, like that custom, like make the formatting look just like your company website type thing. That would kind of be like an add-on thing, but there actually is a lot of interest in stuff like that. From my training, there were like three of my students that were going to talk to like salespeople in my company about getting something like that implemented. One more, we'll move on and just kind of cover basics of Tableau, but one more kind of topic people want to cover.
Drill down?
Drill down? What kind of drill down?
Like a hierarchical, so managers can see, supervisors can see, employees.
Okay,
It's several levels.
okay, gotcha. Good call. All right, hopefully I can cover one more.
So I was just going to ask about security, like layers of security.
Oh.
When you publish and socialize it, can you limit people's access
Yeah, you can definitely, you have,
by roles?
yeah, you can filter by, yeah, people access what you tell them they can access on Tableau server. I love answering questions. Let's move on though, sorry. We might stop if we get to a certain point where we feel like moving on.
Do you know if there are plans for a web interface using development right
I'm
now?
not listening, just kidding. To do a web interface on,
I don't have to download and install, I just go to a place and build these?
yeah, there's Tableau Cloud. It's a product that they came out with a couple years ago. Yeah. It's basically Tableau server, a version of Tableau server that they like take care of all the back-end stuff for you. When you implement Tableau server, you need to like get your own server, install Tableau server, usually on like a remote desktop. Okay. All right. Let's move on. So I want you guys all to open up Tableau. Let's party. What time are we gonna break?
About 20 minutes.
20 minutes? Okay. All right, that'll give us a good start. All right, so open up Tableau. Let me open up Tableau too, so you see what you see when you open up Tableau. All right, does everyone see a screen that looks kind of like this without the workbooks that were the last ones that you were connected to?
No.
You don't? If you don't, go to the little home screen icon in the upper right. Click on that little home button, and this will bring you here. You should have a data source that already comes installed in Tableau called Sample Superstore Subset. Click on that data source and connect to that data. Okay? Everyone there? Probably not, but normally in my training class I would like wait till everyone's there, but that might take a long time. All right, click on your Superstore subset, and you're just gonna have a blank slate that you're gonna start with. All right? What do you guys notice? So if we want to see what this data actually looks like, we basically connect it to an Excel file. If we want to see what this data looks like, I can click on this little data button and examine what that data is like. And it might take a second to load up. Okay. All right, here's my data source. I've got a bunch of data. What data types do people recognize here? We've got geographic locations, okay? Dates.
Customer segments.
Customer segments, what kind of data type is that? It's categorical. What type of data? String. It's a string field. We've got some numerical data a little further on where we have our profit and sales. So Tableau, when we connect to Tableau, when we connect our data to Tableau, it's going to scan the first several hundred rows of our data, and it's going to identify what data type that it's looking at. So if it sees a bunch of geographies that it recognizes, like Illinois, Washington, it's going to recognize those as geographies. Things like sales and profit, it's going to recognize those as sales and profit, as numbers. All right, so you can close out of this.
Russ, what if you have a bunch of empty cells? Like, is it gonna mess up your data?
It'll mess up some calculations, yeah. If you're trying to do like a calculated field that's based on, that has a bunch of nulls, what's like a null times 400? It's nothing. So yeah, in that sense, it would be.
Error just kind of rolls away.
There are functions that you can use with Tableau, like a ZN function. You put ZN in front of your calculation and it will zero out all of your nulls. So you can do something like that. So, or you can filter them out of your data after the fact. So, all right. Brady, right? You're asking about dimensions and measures in Tableau. So we get this thing on the left that's called our data window. First thing it does is it shows us the data that we are connected to. If we want to edit our data, we can right click on that and go and edit that data. We also get a field called dimensions and a section called measures. So the dimensions are blue and the measures are green, and they behave differently in Tableau. So what are the differences between dimensions and measures that you guys can identify? Measures are quantitative. Talk loud.
Continuous variables.
Seems to be more topical, they seem to be more filtered by, measures seem to be more
Yeah, dimensions are more filtered by things, they're topical, other word is categorical. Measures are continuous. They will build like an axis for us. They're numerical. So let's look at a couple differences of this. So let me take something as simple as department. So it may just be called department in your data set. Some of these sample data sets are slightly different, but in my case, it's in the product hierarchy. So I can click on department, and I can drop it onto rows, and what is that going to create for me? It's going to create 3 headers, 3 sections of my data. It's going to cut my data up into 3 slices based on what department everything belongs to. Next thing I can do is I can take sales, 2 columns, and that's going to create bars that are based on sales. So measures are things that we can quantify, things that we can aggregate. What does aggregation mean? It's sum, average, something that we can aggregate.
Is there a rule of thumb where you normally take dimensions and put them into columns and measures?
It used to be where you needed to take measures first to get, it was a better practice to take measures. I don't really see a difference between the order. I think there may be one that some people take measures there first. So, all right, let's look at, so I can take department to color. What is that going to do? It's going to give me a distinct color for every department that I have within my data set. What if I took sales to color? It's going to give me a range within the color green. So sales, I can't give a distinct color to everything within sales. Kind of makes sense. So that displays one of the differences between dimensions and measures. So, let me go back. Dimensions are blue, our measures are green. Measures can be quantified, dimensions can't. Let me write out a few of these rules. All right, dimensions. They create headers and footers. Sorry if that's tough to see. Not sorry enough to redo it though. All right. 2, dimensions are categorical data. They create buckets, is one way to put it. Dimensions also offer us distinct buckets. All right. So measures. What's the difference between a dimension and a measure? Measures, they create axes. A measure will create an axis. Number two is they can be aggregated. They determine how large our bars get. They determine how much or how many. And dimensions kind of in a sense dictate where things go, what buckets they go into. Does that kind of make sense? With that said, do you guys see anything in measures that maybe doesn't fit this description? Latitude and longitude. What does latitude and longitude mean? They're geographic locations. Those actually, they're in the right place. They can be, you could sum latitudes and longitudes. I agree that you might not want to. There are times when you do an average latitude and longitude if you only have a single row, or you can disaggregate those measures and it'll show you the point that each of those go with. Those are actually good to stay down on the bottom. Everything in our measures is good to remain there, I think. If we had something like order ID and we only called the field order, it would recognize all the numbers and it would drop order into measures, but it would actually, are we going to try and add up our order IDs? No, we're not. So, and sometimes we need to customize the data by taking things like order ID or row ID to our dimensions. In this case, it already did it for us. All right. Any questions about dimensions of measures specifically?
So, when you export data into Tableau, it automatically sorts it into dimensions or measures?
Yep.
You can go in and kind of edit it?
Yeah, sometimes it gets its best guess, and it's pretty good at guessing, but sometimes it gets it wrong. If it gets it wrong, and like I know that my discount is actually like a discount ID number, I can click on discount and I can drag it up to dimensions, and I turned it into a dimension. So, all right. Any other questions about this?
The ID fields, customer ID, order, row, and the mapping items and product, how does it know to subset those?
He's asking, how does Tableau know to count customer ID and row ID and order ID as a dimension? Tableau recognizes the letters ID.
No, I mean under, under ID field.
You have to build that.
Okay.
It's a hierarchy. It's creating a hierarchical relationship. You can build that. So I've got a hierarchy called mapping items. I could take city out of it and take postal code out of it and remove this hierarchy of mapping items. And then I could create a hierarchy of mapping items by taking city, taking it down, and dropping it on top of state. And it tells me to create a hierarchy. I can rename this mapping items. Click OK. What else was in there? I ruined my hierarchy. Postal code. There it is. All right, and then we can click on postal code, drop that into our hierarchy. Hierarchies have a parent-to-child relationship. The top one is like the ancestor. It's like our grandfather, and then it drips down like a family tree. That's kind of the visualization that Tableau gives us. What does the hierarchy do? So we can take state to rows, and we can take sales to columns, and I always sort. I always sort by clicking on these one-click sort buttons. Typically I sort in descending order so that I can see the big bar at the top, highlight the important stuff. So I'm going to click on this sorting icon and sort it in descending order. What that hierarchy does is it gives me a little plus sign, both when I hover over my state field here, and when I hover over my data field here. So I can click on that plus sign, and that will drill into the next level within my hierarchy. And it's one way to create a drill down in Tableau. It's probably not the best way. So that's what hierarchies do. All right. Any other questions about dimensions and measures? Let's cover one other thing real quickly. Yeah.
Can you create your own custom dimensions and measures if they're not in?
Of course. Yeah, you can. We'll talk about that in a bit. It's called creating a calculated field. It's just like typing in a formula in Excel, and then you can apply that formula just like any other field in your data. So if I wanted to do something, we've already got a profit ratio thing created, but if I wanted to do like something like time to ship, I could do a date function, date difference function, and subtract my order date from my shipping date, and then it would spit out a numerical value, and then I could use that in my visualization just like I could use any other field. Okay? It's essentially when we create a calculated field, we're creating a new column within our data. In effect, not actually, but. All right. Okay, let's move on. So I can do something like open up a new sheet. Let's name these sheets. I'm going to open up this sheet and call it filtering. So we can do something, we can filter our data easily in Tableau. Really simple. I can take department to rows. I can take sales to columns. And then I can take category to rows. Or I can open up this drill down and add categories. Or I could have just dropped category into rows next to my department. So I've got something that looks like this. If I want to color it by sales or by profit, I can take profit to color. Now my bars are sized by the different profitability of each of these. I can see that my tables are unprofitable. All right, I'll just show you one way to create a filter in Tableau, and that is a quick filter. So we can right-click on department. One of the rules of Tableau is like when in doubt, right-click. It's almost always going to bring up some sort of awesome menu that you can customize however you want. So when in doubt, right-click. Right-click on department and go to show quick filter. Now when I check or uncheck these things, it will filter based on what I have checked and unchecked. All right. All right, let's learn how to create a bar chart. It's funny, like a lot of times, there's a guy at Facebook named Andy Kribel, and he's got a blog called VizWiz. It's at vizwiz.blogspot.com. And sometimes he has a thing called Makeover Monday on his blog. It's a Tableau blog. It's a really good blog to follow if you're interested in learning about visual best practices, stuff like that. I can actually show you, let's look at a quick example of the VizWiz blog. So, all right. He has a thing called Makeover Monday, and I don't know. All right, let's check out this one. Makeover Monday. So here's a chart that he just found on the internet. So we have tech chart of the day, U.S. consumer media consumption share. The point I was trying to make is the fact that a lot of times when people make over visualizations and implement best practices to them, a lot of times they see a pie chart and they almost are always like, turn this pie chart into a bar chart. And it's just a simple bar chart and that fixes the visualization. They do a lot of other stuff too, but all right. Do you guys see anything that's wrong with this visualization?
Well, it's not helpful.
It's hard to...
Like when you're looking at it, like it's not like organized the way that you really can tell what you're looking at.
What's the key insight here?
Mobile's growing.
Mobile's growing. Very good. But is that obvious?
Mm-mm.
It's not. Are the colors helpful at all?
No.
Not particularly. Anything else stand out? Is this title very helpful? Not particularly. U.S. consumer media consumption share.
Also, it seems like the dates in the category should be switched. Like it should, like the axes should be dates.
Okay, maybe the dates and the axes should be switched. Okay, easy to do in Tableau. All right, this is how Andy rebuilt this. So he took the same data and he built two charts actually. So one chart is the percentage of total time spent by consumption type. Does this tell the story a little better? Is it obvious what the story is? Yeah, he highlighted mobile. He's like, look at mobile. This is where the story is. And then you're like, oh yeah, it is. Mobile's going up. Everything else is staying pretty flat or going down. So that's pretty cool. And then the average time spent by medium it tells a similar story. So, and this isn't like a complicated chart, it's just that he used the best practice. A lot of times best practices involve using bar charts instead of pie charts because the bar charts, this isn't an example of that, but the bar charts are easy to tell like size. If we wrote a bunch of things, for example, if I wrote something up on my board and drew like a pie chart, and I drew a bunch of lines in this pie chart. And I started asking people, which slice of the pie is the biggest, which one's the smallest, what are the insights that come out of this? It's a little bit tricky to tell. However, if I build something like a bar chart, first of all I gotta build a bar, and they all start from the same point, so I'm comparing everything from the same point. It's easy to tell which ones are biggest, even if the sizes are very close. Like, even though these are all very close, we can tell which one's bigger than the other one. Typically, bar charts are better than pie charts. On Andy's blog, he's got a little quote that says, "Friends don't let friends use pie charts." It's just not a good way to visualize data. All right, let's take a look at that bar on bar chart that we made. Actually, before we get into this, let's take our break. 10 minutes, okay? Okay, 10-minute break, and then we'll get into some of the awesome stuff. I'll build a dual axis like motion map. I'll show you guys how to build a dual axis chart. Some calculations, some parameters, and then I'll show you guys some use of dashboards. So just kind of a simple whet your appetite intro into Tableau. So.